What is up, guys? I'm finally filming another video. This video a lot of people wanted, which is my coming out story. So if you guys don't know, I am bisexual. I came out in the 8th grade, which is fairly early. But yeah, so you guys are gonna get to know all the details. I'm gonna be answering some of y'all's questions, etc., etc. So yeah, let's get into that. Okay, so basically, you guys wanted to know when I first knew that I was into females. I knew from a very young age, like really young. Probably because when I was younger, like 5 and 6, I lived next to this girl that I became friends with, and I was only a year older than her. But like being so young like that, I didn't know that you could like females or that you could be bi. I didn't know about like all that stuff. So I started to like her, like I had a little crush on her. And of course I didn't know what it meant when I was so young. But then as I got older, I started to like figure that out. And I was like, hey, like I already know the deal. Like I knew I was bi. Like I knew I liked guys and I knew I liked girls. And I know for some people that's like a really hard thing to understand. Like if you're against it or just if you were straight and you just don't understand it, which, you know, that's okay. The best way I can really understand it is, and this is the same way I explained it to my mom and my dad, is that it's basically like, it's not a weird feeling to me. It's just like when a girl likes a guy or a guy likes a girl. It's the same thing, just with a female. Nothing's different as far as feelings or, you know, just like how you feel about that person. So telling my parents, okay, my parents are not fully against it, but they're not fully accepting. I think my mom is less accepting than my dad. My dad, I told him first before my mom, because during like when I was younger, I would like kind of test the waters and be like, oh, like mom, like what do you think about, you know, like, you know, gay people and stuff like that. She was like, well, to each their own, but if it was my own daughter, you know, that would be different. So I was like, oh. But finally I got to a point where I had dated this girl in 8th grade. I knew I wasn't going to change my mind about being bi, so I was like, well, like maybe I should tell my parents. And I was really struggling with, do I tell them now or do I wait till like high school? And I didn't really think that I was too young to tell them. It didn't really occur to me until after I told them. But in the mindset of before I told them, I was just, my main thing was like, are they gonna accept me? And it was especially with my mom. My dad I wasn't so much worried about because his oldest son, which is my stepbrother, is gay, and his youngest brother is gay. So I was like, okay, my dad's been through this before. Like, I'm gonna tell him first and maybe it'll be okay. And then I'll tell my mom later. Because my mom has not had to experience that in her whole life as far as like knowing anybody that was really like gay or, you know, lesbian or whatever. So yeah. So it was bothering me so bad to where I wasn't talking to them for at least a week. Like I was really shutting down. Like I really didn't know what to do. So finally I was sitting in my room. My dad comes in. He's like, what's wrong? Like you're completely shutting down. Like there's something on your mind. Me and your mother want to know, whatever. My mom was in the room at the time. So in my mindset at first, I was just really scared of them not accepting me. My friends already knew. They were perfectly fine with, like, I had a few of my friends that were like, oh, like, you know, you do you. But there was nobody I hadn't exactly experienced really anybody downing me for or like, ooh, like that's disgusting, whatever. So when I told my dad, it took me like a good hour and a half. It was literally just me and him sitting there in silence. For the first hour, like it was dead quiet, but every once in a while he'd ask me like the first thing he'd ask, like, are you doing drugs? Like, did you smoke weed? Like, is there like what's going on that you need to tell us? Because he could tell it was serious. He was like, do you have a boyfriend? Like, are you pregnant? And he just like asked like the most random things because he could see how like nerve-wracking I was with this. Like I was shaking and stuff. After an hour, I started crying for at least 30 minutes. because I was at that point where I was like, it was at the tip of my tongue getting ready to tell him. I was so scared. Like, I'm serious. And I don't know if it's because I was just young or because I really don't talk to my parents about anything. So it was a difficult thing to tell them because that was a big part of me that I wanted to tell them for a while. So I finally told him. I was hysterically crying. He hugged me. He was like, it's okay. Like, but you have to tell your mother. I was like, okay. So she comes in. My dad's like she needs to tell you something, whatever. After I told him and I saw his reaction at first, he seemed like, not inviting, but like he seemed like, okay. Like he was like, it wasn't a huge thing. He wasn't like, oh my God, like. So it was easier to end up telling my mom, and her first question was like, how do you know? I was like, well, I just know. Just like, like you like males, like I know I like both, because I can tell when I look at like a male that I think is attractive and I look at a female that I think is attractive. I think of that in the same way. Now, I don't look at every female that way, just like I don't look at every male that way. Like, I separate, if this makes sense, like I separate my female friends to the females I would like, because I would not try to like one of my friends unless like they were bi, and like you like or a lesbian or whatever, and like you could kind of get the drift. But if it was one of my really good friends, like there's no way I would try to like get a relationship going with that, I guess you could say. But my mom was like, how do you know? Like, I don't know what to think. And you could tell she was like struck. Like, she did not think that was what I was going to tell her. So after that, it just got kind of quiet, and they were just like, okay, and like I calmed down and stuff, and then that was really it. We really didn't talk about it after that. And then the next day, my dad picks me up, and he was like, well, you told us some information yesterday. I was like, yeah. He goes, well, first, we don't accept. Second of all, you're too young to know your sexuality. Which, the non-accepting part at that point, now that it was out in the open, I was just like, okay, like I'm just gonna have to deal with that. Then the too young part, I really didn't say anything, because now that I think about it, I probably was. But at the same time, I think in my mindset, like, it's not going to change. And like, right now, I still know that's not going to change. And so, yeah, I mean, it is what it is. I wish I didn't necessarily tell them until I got into high school, because, again, I was in the 8th grade. I wish I probably would have waited. I feel like it would have been easier. And I feel like now I'm more at peace with it than I was when I was younger. I feel like it would have been easier for me to tell them now, because I'm just like, well, if they don't accept me, like, I'm just gonna have to deal with it. I think I was really scared in 8th grade of them not accepting me, but I think now I'm just like, well, if they don't accept me, like, I can't do anything about that. Me and my mom have gotten in a lot of confrontations about it. She was like, I'm gonna need therapy, whatever. She's very struck by it. I don't think she thought that, her daughter was gonna be bi, but I mean, like I said, it is what it is. And like I said, like, I'm at peace with it. So you guys had some questions that I'm gonna pull up on my phone. But yeah, so basically when I came out to my friends, it was not a big deal. It was not like a big proposal thing. It was not that at all. Because I did indeed have friends that were bi. I had gay friends and stuff in 8th grade. And so I felt very comfortable with them. And I think the first person I told was my friend Jasmine. And I was just like, so like, I'm bi and stuff. And she was too. So like, it wasn't that big of a deal. But she was like, I'm proud of you. Like, you're coming to peace with it and stuff, and I'm glad you're not scared of it, and whatever. So I was like, yeah. So then my friends initially found out, and it wasn't a big deal. I feel like kids are more easily accepting than parents. I think parents, don't exactly see everything the way that we do, just because of the different generations, how they were raised, and, et cetera, et cetera. I think that parents are not as open-minded, which sometimes can be a good thing, but sometimes can't. I feel that I feel like it's overwhelming for them, just because it was not something that was as populated as it is today. But I feel that if I was in their position, I would take it as it goes, and there's no way that I would tell my kid, like, I don't accept you or something. Because I feel like that's just, you know, because like, my parents told me, like, you know, well, no matter what, we're going to love you. And it's like, okay, well, that can be it. But it's like, do you accept me? They accept me no matter what, kind of thing. But I'm at peace with it. If they, you know, don't accept me even when I'm older, so be it. Because, you know, I think now I just kind of look at it like, if you don't accept that, that's not on me. I'm proud of who I am. I'm not going to hide that, and that's just how it's going to go. So yeah. Some of you guys wanted advice. I know I got a comment like a long time ago. About like advice and stuff. Coming out to friends, I feel like that is something that you should be able to do, as far as like, if they don't accept you, okay, like, goodbye. Because friends, they come and go, they leave for petty reasons, they come for petty reasons, you know, friends get in drama for everything. I feel like parents and family especially, I feel like that's a lot harder, because you can't exchange them and they can't leave necessarily and stuff. You are stuck with your family, which isn't a bad thing. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. But it's something that, you know, you really have to deal with, because they are there, especially your parents. I have no idea what this is, but okay. So coming out to parents, I think it's something that should be done at least in high school. I know I was too young to go telling them that, but at the time I was like, well, I know it's not going to change and stuff. So I don't necessarily regret it, but I do wish maybe I would have told them later. Even now, I probably would have told them in the 9th grade, because I'm like, well, I'm in high school, like, you know, yeah. But I think it's just something that, especially you yourself telling them, whether you're trans, you're gay, you're bi, you're a lesbian, whatever, I think it's something especially that you yourself have to understand, that their reaction is not going to be what you want. Because, you know, I told my parents, like, I don't want you guys to be like, oh, like, let's throw a party and, you know, hang rainbow flags off the ceiling. But I was not expecting them to be like, oh, well, we don't accept you, kind of thing. And that's really the vibe I got. You have to understand that it's a shock to them, and especially because they did not see it in me whatsoever, which, in my opinion, I don't really think they would, unless, like, you know, I was like a masculine kind of, like, if I was more on that side. I feel like maybe then they would have seen it, but I know they weren't expecting it, so, yeah. But, you know, I think as well as parents having to understand the kid, I think we have to understand the parents, as far as it could be a shock, and, you know, it could be something they did not expect, and they kind of have to take it now because you're their child. But you just really have to talk to them and be like, you know, I don't want this to affect our relationship and stuff. And if you guys don't accept me, like, I still love you guys, but, you know, at least try. Because I feel like even if a parent doesn't accept you fully, if they try, that shows so much more that they want to accept you. And, like, you know, I've tried talking to my mom about it and stuff before, and every time it just turns to, like, a fight, or, like, it just gets shut down. So I just try not to, and she doesn't come and talk to me about it necessarily. So we just kind of leave it. I feel like once I get older, they will understand that this is my choice and that it's not going to change. It's not a phase. You know, a lot of parents try to put, you know, that on as, oh, it's just a phase, you know, you'll get over it, whatever. And, you know, sometimes it is, but a lot of the times it's not. So, yeah, I mean, that's my advice. Just don't, you know, with friends, they come and go, so I don't feel it's a big deal. You know, at least tell your, like, closer friends first, and then kind of let it spread. You know, it is what it is. Friends come and go. I know I'm repeating myself a lot, but I'm trying to initially get the idea over. But they come and go. It is what it is. And if they don't accept you, then that's their loss, and they weren't true friends if they can't accept you. You know, family, you just have to deal with it as you go, and you have to understand that it is two-sided. So, I mean, yeah. Ways to deal with bullying, I know that was a question. That, I feel, is something, you know, your sexuality or whatever, I feel that should not be, you know, hidden. You know, you should be proud of who you are, and you shouldn't have to hide it, just like race or, you know, religion, whatever. You know, I feel that, bullying happens no matter what. It could be over your eyebrows, it could be over the simplest little thing. So it's like, at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter, and that shouldn't make you want to hide yourself to people, and that shouldn't make you want to, act like someone you're not, and it shouldn't make you afraid to come out to your friends or afraid of, stuff like that. Initially, like I said, bullying happens over anything, so it's something that, shouldn't faze you, but if it does, because I know I dealt with a lot of bullying, I didn't necessarily get bullied for being bi. I don't think, I have a few times, but not badly. But, you just have to ignore them. You can't surround yourself with that negativity. It's just something you have to kind of try to deal with as best you can. And, because I know there's a lot of stories, and even now it's like getting me choked up just thinking about that, but there are a lot of stories of, suicides from, lesbians and gays and, the whole community, which is such a sad thing. I pray for all the lives that were lost because of that and the hate crimes they used to do, but I do feel that the world has evolved a whole lot from then, and even though it's not fully accepted, they are trying to, get same-sex marriage, accepted and all this other stuff. But I feel bullies, you can't listen to them because they're going to try to find anything to get to you. Like I said, no matter if it's how tall you are, it could be the smallest thing. You just can't let them get to you. And, that's the best way you can deal with it, because sooner or later they will stop. And, one day, you guys are, not going to have to deal with bullies, and you guys are going to be on the higher rise, with a job and a life and a family. And, at the end of the day, it's not going to matter. And it might suck now, but, everybody gets through stuff kind of thing, I guess. And I can say that because, I've had to deal with a lot of bullying and stuff like that. Not even just from sexuality, but, whatever. But, what to do if coming out ruins a relationship? Again, this comes with family and friends. Just give it time. If it's really a relationship you want to save, try to talk to them about it. But, if it just really ruins a relationship, there's nothing you can necessarily do about it. Because at the end of the day, if they don't accept you, then they're not your friends. So it's like, yeah. So you guys have listened to me ramble for like 17 minutes. I think that covered all your guys' questions. If I find more later on, I can always do an add-on video, or I can just always redo it. So comment if you guys have any more questions. Subscribe and like and all that stuff. I'll link my social media down below again. So yeah, you guys have a blessed day. Love you guys. Bye.